Hi, welcome to my studio. It's a Saturday afternoon here in Sarasota. It's about 90 degrees outside, so I'm happy to be here in the studio working and having this opportunity to share with you some of the things I've been working on for this calling of St. Peter and Andrew. So let me get started. I'm going to start and share the screen with you. A few technical issues here. Just hold on one second. And play from current slide. Okay, so this is a video I'm making, especially for my Patreon patrons. And I'm sharing with you my investigation and practice of illustrating Bible verses and stories in preparation for icon creation. Um, and I'm using different materials like watercolor pencils, acrylic paints that are watered down to make them thin and transparent. And I'm also exploring my personal responses to the calling of Peter and Andrew. So I'm doing all this for myself and also sharing it with you as an example of what you could do. So if there's a Bible verse or a Bible story that you would like to create an icon for, whether there is one in existence already or not, this is a good way to begin. So that's what I'm hoping is that by sharing this with you, it will encourage you to start working on creating an original icon. So I'm sharing this example of the calling of Peter and Andrew. And here's the scripture. While walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who's called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. So I've been reading that a lot and meditating on it a lot. And there's a lot in there, just that one little snippet of scripture. And I found this painting that I really like. Duccio was an Italian painter painting. All of a sudden, it went out of my head. Some like 1350 to 1400s, right in that period. Pretty much the same time as Andrei Rublev was creating his beautiful icons in Russia. But this is how the Italians were creating their religious pictures. And we don't call this an icon necessarily. He's right on the verge. He's before the Renaissance. So there are many iconographic elements to it. So, and I particularly love this Italian school of religious painting or icon writing. So I started with just making some quick sketches with, I think in this case, I was using egg tempera, just the red ochre, and I think it was burnt umber I was using here, just to kind of sketch in the basic elements. And one of the things I like about this one is just by making it very rough, Peter here on the left, you could see him sort of bending back a little, almost from the strength of the offer that Jesus is making to him. He's got his hand on his hip up and on one side, and his other hand is reaching out to Jesus. And then Andrew, the one in the red, the figure in the red, he's still pulling up the net that has the fish in it, but he's turned his head and he's listening intently to Jesus. And Jesus here is just kind of calmly standing on the edge of the sea, and he's reaching out his hand, calling them. Here's another quick one that I did. And this one, Jesus is much more intent on calling them, much more energy. You've got this strong kind of diagonal here that he's reaching towards. This one right here. And I love the postures of Peter and Andrew in this one, where Peter, this one of Peter reminds me of when he was in the Transfiguration, right? He's sort of like, here, let me solve this problem. We'll put a few tents here. Or so Peter's like, got this funny personality. or he likes to take charge. And Andrew is kind of hanging back a little bit, listening intently. And then you have the fish below and the fish in the net there. And I really love this net. I mean, there's a lot to think about with the fish net too, isn't there? So much. I mean, with Jesus calling those two while they were at their normal job of how they earned a living in the world. And just a lot to think about. I won't go into it all here, but you'll see more of how I was thinking. Here's just a quick drawing where Jesus is now standing more upright here and making a reasonable kind of request. Peter again has his hand up, and Andrew is kind of in the position of like looking one way and looking another. I mean, really, so this all came about because I was drawing freely. I wasn't trying to make a perfect drawing or anything. I just had some colored pencils and I was just playing around. And so the head going one way and the head going the other, one of those was a mistake. I forget which one, but it really didn't matter, because in the end, when you're just kind of coming from that creative place inside of yourself, just trying to capture the drawing and the feeling, things happen that you don't consciously try to make happen. And those can be sources of revelation for you too. That's why I did so many of these. Here's one that's more of a realistic drawing from the example of by Duccio with pencil. And, you can see there's a lot of erasing going on in here and mistakes and all, but it all works together. And again, like the personalities of Peter and Andrew, it's like Peter's like jumps on it. He's impulsive. Here, let's do this. And Andrew is being thoughtful, like, he's hauling up the net and saying, well, this is how I earn my living. He's much more thoughtful and pensive. And I did this fun drawing just of the net. There's a lot that could be done with just that as well. And here I use the colored watercolor pencils that, when you draw with them and then you put water with the brush, you brush over them with water, you get these beautiful bleeding of colors. So I wanted to experiment with that. And here's a net that I did just with regular pencil. So here, just kind of experimenting with combining different mediums too. And then this one I love too. This one, I used acrylics underneath and I just kind of did a rough anything. And then when that dried, I used oil pastels to do the drawing because I know that oil pastels are water resistant. So I did the drawing, like that's what you see, the outlining Jesus here and outlining the net. And then I painted over that with colored inks, acrylic inks, and maybe a little bit of acrylic paint in there. But don't you just love the water, like all that just kind of changing around and this few little fish floating around. And the abstractness of this, the meaning still comes through, but it's very abstract. And I love that too. So then I started getting more personal and thinking about the meaning of it. And this is just an acrylic painting that I did. I think it's 16 inches by 16 inches. And that round bowl looking thing is really a coracle. So that's an ancient, early version of a boat. And the Irish mystics would use that. Sometimes they would just set sail, well, no sail, no oars, just getting into the coracle and let God take them where he will. And I was thinking of how this calling of the two apostles was like that. It was Jesus calling them, and they had no idea where they were going to go. but something about the way Jesus called them let them know that they wanted to follow him and they trusted him. So just the idea of me entering into that scene and being willing to get into this coracle and go wherever God leads me. And then I did some more thinking about it, and I was thinking, Peter, the two green figures here could be Peter and Andrew. And maybe what they were kind of getting from Jesus when Jesus was calling them was how he would embrace them, he would love them, he would care for them, and that's what would give them the confidence to make that decision. This is just a small piece of watercolor paper. I used acrylics and acrylic inks on. And another one similarly, like, that scripture where Jesus said, like he would gather, that, he could gather his chicks like a hen. This is like a mother gathering her disciples, her apostles, the people that she's going to nurture, she's going to teach, she's going to care for them. And they're all in the boat together. And then this one was, again, more kind of a personal interpretation of like getting in that boat with Jesus. And this kind of combines that scripture that we saw at the beginning, but it also combines, when the waters were rough, and Jesus was in the boat. And, if Jesus is in the boat, you don't have to worry about the rough waters. But again, just, for your purposes of doing these kind of things, I just got out my paints and I started doing this. Like I looked up on the internet boat and I found this shape here. So I made that shape. And then these kind of pointed waves here, that comes from Egyptian art. And so I put a lot of those in. And the yellow things, I don't know, that I just put those in. I didn't mean anything by them, but I like them. I just like them. Of course, the fact that there are three of them, could relate to the whole, the Holy Trinity. But it's this idea of going into our other self, our more intuitive self, and just allowing images to come forth. Nobody has to approve this, no one has to like it. It's just being true to who I am and how God is speaking to me while I'm working. And then this one I did too, is just kind of, again, personalizing the idea of getting into that coracle. And I had all these things going on here. I had some seahorses down here. They kind of ended up disappearing. I have a little seashell here, starfish here. And then I had these white sort of, I guess they are meant to be like waves coming in on the shore. Like here I am still on the shore. I haven't gotten into the coracle yet. And then I had these white shapes here. And at first I didn't know what they were, what it was. I thought it might be more of the, kind of the waves breaking. But one day I looked at it and I realized it was an angel. I didn't even know it when I put it there. But I turned it into an angel, and then I put this gold leaf here. And it's almost like the angel is bringing me blessings as I go forth into the stepping into the water and getting into the boat to go where God takes me. So, what fun. I mean, I just wanted to share that with you, and I invite you to take some kind of a journey like that as well, with scripture and with drawing, and with painting, using any materials that you have, and share it. You can share it in the comments on Patreon, or you could share it in the Facebook group, the Online Icon Students Facebook group. And sharing is important, being able to communicate with your peers about what you're thinking, what you're doing is an important part of learning and moving forward and making good progress. So I invite you to carry on and I will come back next time when I have more things to show you. And I hope by then I will have seen some of the work that you all are doing. All right, God bless. Keep praying and keep working.